Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Ringover webinar. Today, we're going to see how to create, manage, and delete users of your Ringover account. So just wait a few minutes and we're going to start the webinar. We're going to wait so a few more people can connect to the webinar. While we are waiting, I'm going to show you this page, which is our support page. So you can have access to this page by typing support.ringover.com. Here you're going to have access to all of our articles about all of the Ringover features, such as the IVR, the analytics, number management, and you also have access to all of the past webinars that we have done. So you have the webinar on the Ringover API for those who have a more technical background. How to improve your ROI with Empower, which is our AI tool. So you have all of these past webinars. You can click here and watch the video, and you also have the list of the next webinars. I'm going to also show you our first steps with Ringover page, which is a self-learning page. So you can choose a path. So you can be a user, an admin, a supervisor, and by clicking here, you're going to have access to a training path that will show you how to use the Ringover app. Okay, so let's start this webinar. So as I said, today we're going to see how to create, manage, and remove your users. My name is Marcos. I'm part of the quality and learning team here at Ringover. I'm joined today by Bruna, so feel free to ask any questions, and Bruna will answer them while I'm presenting the webinar. By the end of the webinar, if your question hasn't been answered yet, I'm gonna answer all of your questions in a questions and answer session. So let's start the webinar. So today we're gonna see how to create a user, how to delete or assign a user, how to configure roles and permissions, how to create and manage user groups, and we're gonna see the demo, of course, of how to do all of those things. Okay, so how to add a user, we're gonna see the step-by-step to add a user, to add also an internal and an external user, how to configure the basic information, the choice of license, and the parameters, how to delete a user, and how to choose, that's very important. If you wanna keep all of the user data, so all of the recordings, all of the analytics of that user, or if you wanna delete the data when you delete the user. We're also going to see how to manage roles and permissions. Let me go back to the best slide. So how to manage roles and permissions. This is very important also if you want to configure your users and allow the users to do some things and forbid the users to do other things such as modify their schedule by themselves. So we're going to see that in the demo. We're going to see also how to create user groups, which are very useful if you want to transfer calls to a user groups. They're going to take the calls one after the other. We're also going to see that during the demo, and also how to add an external user, which can be useful if you have, for instance, a developer in your team that doesn't need to make phone calls. So that person doesn't need to use the main feature of Ringover, which is making phone calls. But the developer can have access to the configure page, to the integrations page. And we're also going to see how to create this external user, which is free. And this user is peculiar because you don't need a license to create this external user. Let's see the demo now. Just going to share my screen. Okay, so first of all, of course, you need to have access to the Ringover dashboard. So you can type dashboard.ringover.com, or if you're using the web app, you can just click here, and then you're going to see the dashboard icon here. So you click here, and you go back to the dashboard. So when you're in the dashboard, you can come here to the settings, and you have users just right here. So click here, and you're gonna find the list of all of your users. You have the basic information, you have the access of the users, and you have the numbers that are assigned to this user. So you can switch with another number, you can add a label, so the label is going to appear like this. And you also can get a click to call link, which allows you to have access to this shortcut that you can use in your email signature. So the client can click here and call you using the web browser. So let's see how to create a user. So you can click here and you're gonna see this button. If you don't have a number, you need to add a new number. So that's what I'm gonna do. So you add a number, you can buy a new number, select country. And then you need an address, of course, and then you can buy a new number. So let's see the user creation. You need, of course, to add an email address. So just write the email address of your collaborator. You can add a new license. So if you don't have a new license, you need to buy a new license. So just as I bought a new number, you need to buy a new license. And then the person is going to be invited. So when the person is invited, just let me show you. This person is going to look like this. So you have the information that the user hasn't replied to an invitation yet. You can send the invitation again if you want to. You can edit the email if the person hasn't accepted the invite yet. And then you can already configure all of the user's permissions, settings, and audio. Let me switch to this user. So this is how the user looks like when the person already has accepted the invitation. So the person has created the account. We are in the user page, so we have the information created on October, and you have the email. So when the person has already accepted the invitation with the email address that you provided, then you cannot change the email address again. So you need to delete the user and create a new account with the new email address if you want to modify the email address. So for security reasons, you cannot modify the email address. You can, on the other hand, change the name of the person, so the first name, the last name, and you can add an extension. So an extension is basically a shortcut. So you know when you are in an auto room, so you just type 2 to call the reception. So an extension works like this. So if my extension is 8, my colleague to call me just has to type 8, and that person's going to call me. Of course, this is internal. The client, your clients, still need to type your number, but internally, your colleagues that also use Ringover can call you by just typing the extension number, which is this number right here. And of course, an extension is individual, so you cannot take another person's extension. You're going to have an error message. Okay, so let's see the permissions. So the permissions are basically what your user can do using the web app. So you, as the admin of the account, you have the power to allow the user to do a lot of things and forbid the users to do a lot of things as well. So for instance, you can allow the users to listen to all of the records, to all of the IVRs where the user are present. Or you can allow the users to listen to only their own recordings. So this can be useful if you want to keep the recordings of the other team members private. So you can allow the users to listen to only their own recordings, or you can block the access to all of the recordings. You can also configure the SIP account. So if you allow the user to have access to the SIP account, basically, let me show you what is going to happen. So here I'm in my account. If I come here in the settings, I don't have access to the SIP information. So if I click here, if I refresh my page, now I have access to the SIP account information. If you don't know what an SIP information is, basically this is a technical information that is going to be useful if you want to install Ringover in physical phone standard. So if you use a physical phone, you can install Ringover in this physical phone standard, and you're gonna need all of this information, so the SIP account information. You can allow the users to edit their own settings here. You can allow the user also to change the business hours. So let me show you how does that look like. So now I have access to my working hours. So I can manage my own working hours. So I can set that by double clicking that I start my day at 6 a.m. and I finish my day at, let's say, 6 p.m. So me as a user, I can manage my own schedule because my manager allows me to do that. If my manager click here, then the user is not going to be allowed to change the business hours anymore. Is the user allowed to use the snooze feature? So the user will be allowed to be unavailable to new calls. Is the user allowed to edit call forwarding? Is the user allowed to join open groups? So let me show you how does that look like. So if I click here in my account, click here on groups, and then you have access to the open groups, which are groups that can be accessed by anyone in the company. So if I click here, then I joined the group and I'm going to receive the calls of this group of users. If I click here again, then I left the group. So this permission basically allows me to do this, to join a group and leave a group as I wish. Can I have access to the chat tab, which is basically the Ringover chat that is here? The video calls tab that allows you to make video calls with Ringover. The analytics tab, as you can see here in my web app, I don't have access to my analytics. So if I click here, then I have access to my analytics. It's already there. It's already here. Can I have access to the power dialer tab? So as you can see, now I have access to the power dialer. The context tab, so I have access to the network, and the one-way texting, which is this feature right here that you can use to send one-way text to your clients. So your clients won't be able to answer you, so they can be useful to notify the client of some important information, but you don't want to engage in a conversation with the client. So these are all the software customization permissions. Let's go to the calls permissions. So is the user allowed to see the waiting list, which is the list that appears right here? So if you're assigned to an IVR, you can see the clients that are waiting for their call to be picked up. So you can see the calls that are being redirected to your colleagues. And you can allow the users to see the list, so the clients that are waiting. And you can also allow the users to pick up the calls that are in the waiting list. So they're going to see the calls that are here, the clients that are waiting, and they're going to be able to pick up the calls before that their colleagues pick up the calls. You can make all of the incoming calls anonymous to the users. So if you want to keep the numbers of your clients private, you can also make all of the calls anonymous. You can allow the users to tag calls. So as you know, you have the option to use tags in the web app, so you can forbid or allow the users to tag the calls. You can allow the users to use the after call and you can set here the duration of the call after call work. So the after call work is basically a little moment that the user, the agent, is going to have after a call to tag the call, to do notes also, so to write notes on the call. So just after the call, the user is going to have 40 seconds where the user is not going to receive any call because the user is busy setting up tags or writing down the notes of the call. If you want to make tags and notes mandatory for your users, you can active these two options, which are tags and notes required. So the user is not going to be able to end the after call work unless they put a tag and unless they write down a note. So the user is going to do those two actions in order to end the after call work to make a new phone call. You can allow the users to make out of the plan destinations, and this is only for the French premium numbers, so for the French market. You can also change the numbers of the channels. So the channels are what makes you, what allows you to make two phone calls or more than two phone calls at the same time. So my user here, as you can see, can make up to 3 outgoing phone calls at the same time. And you can get more channels here in the marketplace. If you click here, you can come here in the marketplace, and then you can buy an additional channel. So you can make up to 4 outgoing calls at the same time, 5 outgoing calls at the same time. Here I'm limited to 3, but this can go up, of course, if you buy more channels in the marketplace. You can allow the user to edit the caller ID, which is the number that the user is going to use to make outgoing calls. You can also allow the user to look the local presence, which is this feature right here. So let me refresh my page. This feature right here. So if my local presence is activated, and let's say I live in France, but tomorrow I'm going to travel to Spain, then I'm going to be able to call using my Spanish numbers tomorrow when I'll be in Spain by using the local presence. So I don't need to change my number automatically. The Ringover web app is going to detect that I'm in Spain, so I'm going to use the Spain number. If I leave the local presence and I go to Portugal the next day, then the local presence feature is going to pick up my Portuguese number to call my clients. But of course, you need to have numbers on those countries to make those phone calls using the local phone numbers. So you need to buy a Spanish number or a Portuguese number if you want to use the local presence feature in Portugal and Spain. And of course, you also need an address in those countries to be able to buy those international numbers. Let's go back to my users' permissions. You can also activate the voicemail drop, which allows you to leave a voicemail message that you're going to pre-record it before calling the client. So you're going to pre-record a message, so a standard message. Let's say, hi, my name is Marcus, I work for Ringover, I would like to talk to you. So we pre-record the message, you call the client. If the client's not available, instead of recording a new message every time the client's not available, you just need to select the pre-recorded message that you created, and then you send it to the client. So you can allow the user to do this by clicking here. You can also allow or protect this user from being listened to when the user is in a call. You can allow the users to download the recording of the conversation, to start and stop the recording when they're on a call. To record conversations, of course, you can block also this feature. You can also notify the client when they are being recorded. And if you activate this option, then the client will be able to stop the recording by pressing the star key. You can set up a call recording volume, so it can be up to 100 or 30%. I'm sorry. So what happens if it's, let's say, 50%? This is going to be picked up randomly. So the tool is going to randomly pick up some phone calls to be recorded and other phone calls to not be recorded. So you cannot choose which phone calls are going to be recorded. It's going to be chosen randomly. You can also activate the force sign out option. Let me show you what does that do. Let me go to the activity page. So as you can see, I have the list of my users here in the dashboard. I have this user Felix, which is online. I can see that he's using SIP phone, and he's also using an Android phone. So by clicking here, you can disconnect Felix from all of the devices that Felix is using with his Ringover account. So by clicking here, you're going to log out the user. And when you come here, show you again, when you are here in the permissions, this is the option. So if I activate this option, then I can allow the user to go to the activity page and log out all the other users from their devices. So of course, the user needs to have access to the dashboard. You can also activate the radio coach, which is has you can see in the explanation, a live call monitoring. So you can see all of your calls that are happening right now, and you can listen to them. So this is the radio coach feature, and you can allow or forbid this user to use this feature to listen to their colleagues' calls. Now let's see the settings. You can set the outgoing number that the user is going to use by default. So the standard number that the user is going to use. You can also set up call forwarding. So it can be only for the missed calls. So you're going to forward all of the missed calls of the users to another user. So you can choose another user from the list, or you can call forward all of the calls to another user. So that means, of course, that the user is going to be unavailable. So as you can see, the dialer is orange, and you have the information here. All of your calls are forwarded to one of your team members. Let me put back to none. So I feel like the most useful option would be missed calls only. So you are sure to not miss any call, because even if the user is not available, then this call is going to be forwarded to another user until someone picks up the call. You can set up the ring duration. So just pay attention, because if you set up a ring duration of 10 seconds, maybe the user is not going to be fast enough to pick up the call. So maybe a 30 seconds duration is a better one. You can allow the user to see the calls they're waiting on their direct line. So for instance, if I'm already on the phone with a client, then I can see that I have another call they're waiting, and I can manage those two calls by putting someone on hold and talking to the other person, and then taking back the call that I put on hold. You can record the user by default. You can set up the business hours here from the dashboard. So of course, you as an admin, if you set up the information, so the business hours here, your business hours are going to appear here in the user's business hours from their settings in the web app. So if I set up, for instance, this, then if the user check out their web app, so if I go to business hours, did I deactivate this option? Okay. Okay, so I have access to the business hours here, my working hours. And as you can see, it's the same information that I have here on the dashboard because my manager set up my business hours from the dashboard, and I can see the information here on my web app. You can also set up the snooze for the user. So you can set up a snooze for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. So that means that for 30 minutes, this user is going to be unavailable because he is on a training, he's eating, he's developing, he's doing administration tasks. So you can see here the timer. And you can also set up that the user is going to turn off the snooze feature, so this unavailable time by themselves. You can also activate the voicemail for the user, so it can be only a greeting. So the client is going to only hear a message, or it can be a greeting and a message. So the client's going to hear the greetings from the agent, and the client's also going to be able to leave a message to the agent. You can also set up that the calls are going to voicemail if the user is offline. And you can set up notifications for the missed calls, for the voicemail message only, or you can stop all of the notifications. You have access, once again, to the SIP information if you want to use Ringover on a physical landline. So let's see the audio settings. So you can activate the ringback, which is basically a message that you can set up when the client calls your user. So your client is going to listen to the message that you write here while they are waiting for your user to pick up. So you can set up a message just like, hi, I'm going to pick up your call. This is just an example. You can set up a wait time before the message begins. So let's say 0. So as soon as the client calls your agent, the client's going to listen to this message, and you can set up a repeat, so a message loop. So every 5 seconds, let's say, the client's going to hear this message. So every 5 seconds, hi, I'm going to pick up your call. And you can set up also a background music. So the greeting is a welcome message. So instead of the ringback that is going to repeat during the ringtone, the greeting is just a message that the client's going to listen to in the beginning of the ringing. So you have a welcome message, and then you're gonna have the ringback message that is going to repeat on a loop. You have the call transfer hold music. So when you put the client on a hold, or when you transfer your client to another person, while the client is waiting, the client is going to listen to music or a message. You can also set up a message. And you can activate the voicemail drop. As I told you, the voicemail drop allows you to pre-record messages, so voice messages that you're going to be able to leave to your clients if your clients are not available when you call them. And you can create a call recording announcement to tell all of your clients that your calls are going to be recorded. So we saw all of the permissions, the settings, and let's see the dashboard access. So you can give access to user to the dashboard. or you can take out all of the dashboard access. So you can give none access to the dashboard. So the user is going to have access to the web app to make phone calls. You can give access to the billing sections if the user needs to have access to the billings. So which is this section here. So the user is going to have access to the license, to the credits, to the address of the company. You also can give access to the user to the settings, developer, and integrations page. If the user has, for instance, a technical background, the user can help you with some technical information. You can also give access to the user to these three sections, which are settings that we just saw, developer, and integrations. And you can also give access as a supervisor so the user can see the analytics, the IVR information, the logs informations, and the campaigns, the call campaigns, the SMS campaigns, and the voicemail campaigns as well. And of course, the user can be an admin of the account, and you need to you need to create a ticket, and you need to ask for us to create this admin access to your user. Here you can select what your users are going to have access to. You can also select from which groups and from which IVRs the users are going to obtain access to. So if I click here, my user has a supervisor is going to have access to all of the data from the agents group or the Bonjour IVR, for instance. So these are the groups and IVRs that the user is going to have access to the data. And of course, you also have the groups of users that the user can belong to. So if you add the user to this group, then the user is going to be added to this group, and the user is going to receive the calls from these groups, which is called agents. Okay, so let's see what happens if I click here. For instance, you can have, if you don't have an engagement with Ringover, you can edit the license of your user. But of course, if you have an engagement, you need to talk to your CSM or to the commercial team if you want to delete a license, delete or modify a license. You can also remove the user. So let me just show you. If I come here to the billing page of Ringover, as you can see, I have 0 license for the advanced type that are available. So 0 advanced license available. If I come here again and I check my user, so this user is using an advanced license. I'm going to click here, and then I have this message. So once I delete the user, their assigned license will be available for use. You can use it to create a new user. So I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go back to my billing. And as you can see, now I have 1 license available. So when you delete a user, you do not delete the license. So the license is still going on and you're still paying for the license. So you need to assign a new user to this license, or you can also delete the license if you don't have an engagement. If you have an engagement, you want to delete a license, you need to talk to the sales team. Let me just show you also, if you try to delete a user that has already some data, such as this one. Let me try to delete this one. So you have this different message telling you that if you delete the user, you're going to delete all of the data. So call transcripts, call recordings, SMS, and MMS message content. So you're going to delete all of this content, all of this data from this user. So you have the option to archive the user. So by clicking here, you need to pay a charge, but it's only once. You pay the charge, and you're going to be able to keep all of the users' data. Of course, you're going to delete the user's name, so it's going to be like unknown user. But you're still going to see the phone calls, the recordings of this specific user. But if you choose to delete the user, then you're going to delete the user and the user's data. I can see that we have questions. So yeah, so Manel is asking us if you can delete a user for free. So yes, as I showed you, you can delete a user for free, but if you delete a user, you're not going to delete the license. So there's a difference between users and license. So you can delete the user for free when you want, but the license is still going on. So you need to, if you want to delete the user and the license, then you need to delete the user and you need to delete the license. If you have an engagement, you need to talk to the sales team to delete that specific license. Also, you need to delete the number. If you're not going to use the number anymore, you need to delete the number as well, because when you delete a user, then the number of that user is going to appear here available. So these numbers, you're not using them because they're not assigned to a user, but you're still paying for them. So you still need to delete the user. If you are sure that you're not going to use the user anymore, or the license, or the number, then you need to delete the three of them. The user you can delete for free from the dashboard. If you don't have an engagement, you also can delete the license. But if you have an engagement, you need to talk to the sales team, because sometimes you have to pay a fee to delete the license and the numbers before the anniversary of your contract. So let me just show you a little quickly. So I showed you how to create a user, how to manage the user, and how to delete it. And of course, if you want to, if you don't have any license anymore and you want to buy a new license, just come here to the billing page. You can buy a new license here. So it can be an advanced license, a smart license, or an empower license. You just click here and you're going to buy a new license, and you can assign this license to a new user. If you don't have a number available, you can also click here, add number, and you select a country. You have, of course, to have an address in that country, pick a number, and then confirm. So you need those two things in order to create a user: a new license, so an available license, and an available number. Then you can create the user. And once again, if you delete the user, the license is still going on, the number is still going on. So you need to either create a new user and assign that license and that number to a new user, so you are sure to use them because you're paying for them. Or if you don't use them anymore, then you need to contact the support team to delete the number and the license if you are sure that you're not going to use them anymore, because even if you delete the user, you're still paying for them. So we just saw everything that was planned for this webinar. So let me just wait a few seconds to see if you have any more questions on the user creation and deletion. I'm going to show you as well how to create a user role, which is useful if you have a lot of users that are going to have the same settings. So if I come here, I just set up all of these permissions and settings for the user Marcos. So I know that Marcos is my first employee. I know that next week I'm going to have 3 more employees that are going to do the same thing that Marcos do. So I can create a role from Marcos' profile. So I can come here and I can create a role from this user. So I'm going to use all of these users options to assign them to the 3 new users that I'm going to have next week. So by clicking here, I can type Marcos role, create a role. So my role is created. It's already assigned to Marcos. I can apply another role if I want to. I can unlink role and I can edit the role. So I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna come here and I can find my role here. So I can edit my role from here. So pay attention to the fact that when you assign this role to, let's say, 5 users, and if you change the permissions, then you're going to change the permissions for all of the 5 people that are assigned to this role. You can also change the settings, and you can assign users from the users page. Let's go back here. Can assign a role and I can look for my role here. So we saw user role. You can also have the user group, so you can create a group from here. Just click here, create Marcos, confirm. So I have a new group. So click here, new group, and you can assign a user. Let's assign Marcos. So this is very useful for, let's say, I'm gonna do call transfer. So let me go back here. I'm gonna set up a call transfer for this user. So call forwarding, missed calls only, and I can pick up group, and then I can look for my group. So all of the calls from these users, when they are missed, are going to be forwarded to the Marcos group. So if I come here, I can find my group, which is here. So let's say you have a group with 6 people. So the first person of the group is going to receive the call. Then if the first person is not available, the second person is going to receive the call. If the second person is not available, you're going to transfer to the third person. So this is what happens when you set up a user's group. So they are very useful for handling forwarding calls. And of course, you can create an external user by clicking here. You can add email, you can add the password for the person, and you can communicate this password to the person after creating. You click on invite, and then the person is going to have this user, which is free because the person is going to have access to the dashboard. So you can choose either a billing access. So let's say it's someone that works in the contability of your company. This person needs to have access to the invoices. So you give a billing access. If the person is a developer, this person needs to have access to the Ringover dashboard to set up an integration, let's say. You can also create this technical access to the person. So the developer is going to have access only to the technical aspects of the dashboard. So of course, these external users, they are free because they don't have a number, they don't have a license, they are not allowed to make phone calls. So they don't have access to the web app, they cannot send SMS text. So they don't use the main features of Ringover. So that's why they are free, because you can create them to only have access to either the billing section or the developer, so the settings, developers, and integrations page. So this is how you create an external user. Let's see if you have any more questions. Okay, so if you don't have any more questions, feel free to check out our next webinars page, which is inside our support page, so support.ringover.com. You can click here, webinar. You have access to our past webinars and our next webinars. So as you can see, our next webinars are going to be understanding your Ringover analytics and the first steps with Ringover. And you also have access, of course, to the first steps with Ringover page, with all of the training paths and the videos, tutorials, and the webinars, of course, that you can have access to. Okay, so to delete your numbers, I fear that you cannot do that using the dashboard. Let's see. So I have available numbers here. As you can see, I can assign this number to a user. I can assign this number to an IVR. I can assign this number to an audio conference, and I can add a label to this number. So you don't want to assign this number to a user anymore because you are sure that by deleting your user, you want to delete the user and the license and the number. So the user and the license, you can use the dashboard, but as you can see, for the numbers, this is more peculiar because you cannot do it from the dashboard. You need to create a ticket using the support page. So just come here, click here on the dashboard, click here on contact us, and then you can talk to the support team. You can submit a request, and then you can ask us to delete that specific number. This is a bit peculiar because you cannot do it from the dashboard, so you need to ask it to the support team for them to do it for you. Because as I told you, um, if you have an engagement, you cannot just delete the number before the anniversary of the contract for free. So sometimes you need to pay a fee in order to delete that number. But for the license, you have this button right here that can allow you to delete the license sometimes. For other cases, you're not available, you're not allowed to delete the license because once again, you have an engagement. So you need to talk to the super team in order to delete the license. But if you don't have an engagement, then the deletion of the license should be free. So I hope I answered your question. And as I was showing you, so you have access to the first steps with Ringover page, with all of the videos and the webinar. So feel free to check all of these pages. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for your participation. If you still have any questions, feel free to contact our support page. And I will tell you, see you soon on the next webinar if you want to join us for tomorrow's webinar on the analytics, and for the next English webinar, which will be first steps with Ringover. So thank you and have a nice day.